Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Andy Machuda, CEO of Sophion. Today's webinar that you have joined us for is creating an integrated strategy with composite roadmaps. Composite roadmaps are really, really cool. This is the third in a series of events entitled Breakthrough, Identify and Solve Future Problems End Users Care About. This webinar series has been very popular. Over 500 have registered over the course of the series, so really pleased to have many of you back for today's session. This webinar will explore how composite roadmaps provide capabilities to enable the interplay that is necessary for functions and partners to work in harmony and to execute against an integrated strategy to bring innovative solutions to market. So that's the purpose of today's session. Our presenters today are Irene Petrick and Russ Martinelli from Trendscape Innovation Group, as well as Ian Kang, Innovation Management Consultant for Sophion. Irene, a former Penn State University professor, is an internationally recognized expert in strategic road mapping. Russ has over 20 years of experience in strategy development, portfolio management, new product development, program management, and engineering in the high-tech, aerospace, and defense, and medical and non-profit industries. Ian is a certified new product development professional with over 15 years of experience designing and implementing knowledge-based innovation solutions in leading companies throughout the world. We're excited to have you with us today, and with that, I'll turn this session over to you, Irene.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. In our first webinar series, we introduced road mapping and how powerful it can be as a framework to consider strategy and execution simultaneously. In the second webinar, we talked about the power of storytelling and why a narrative about the future is so important. Today, we really get to some of the nuts and bolts of how road mapping helps create strategy that then can be depicted in a graphical way that helps communication and helps discussions. So with that, let me turn to some of our content. I'm going to start with one of my favorite recent books called Big Bang Disruption. So Paul Nunes and Larry Downs describe some of the really important new drivers to competition. And they're really talking about the drivers in the 20 teens, if you will. So they're talking about the exponential growth of technology and its performance and how that impacts companies, both in the operations end of things and in the digital IT end of things. Because of this, they say, experimentation is an essential ingredient to success. Moreover, that it's really the adaptation and combination that we have to think about as really becoming a successful foil to innovation. What this really means is that everything is happening at a very fast pace. And many companies, particularly incumbent existing traditional companies, are having a tough time not only keeping up with that pace, but trying to get ahead of it. And they introduce what they call the shark fin. And this is a model that really captures the challenge of the digital age. They talk about the idea that there are competitors coming at us from all directions, but they're so small relative to our business that we don't even notice them. And they call that the singularity. This is where digital technologies are enabling small, fleet-of-foot startups to begin competing with some of the big guys. When this happens, when we reach some critical mass in the marketplace, we then have that big bang where the marketplace says, this looks like a really good thing. I want to take it from being an app that 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 people use to being something that hundreds of people are using, and then thousands, and then tens of thousands. And they say that when you get to that big crunch, what you really have is the challenge of how do you ramp up and scale up fast enough. And so this is really the challenge that we face, and although many companies aren't completely digital, which their model is aimed at in many ways, they believe that this is the transformation that is going to have to drive not just successful startups, but also many of the incumbent technology-based manufacturing and other kinds of companies. So what does that mean? Well, it really means we have to be thinking several steps ahead. Execution has to be undertaken with respect to not just what I'm trying to do now, but why I'm doing it to lead to some kind of feed-forward activity in the future. This becomes really critical when we start thinking about the interrelationship between design, production, business models, capabilities, and ecosystem partners. And what this really signifies is that whereas success in the past was heavily reliant on my company and the resources to which I'd had direct control over, really now this is a group effort. So success isn't really about having an idea, having a plan, and going to action with a single company. It's really a group effort. And that group effort is facilitated by some of the really important aspects of composite road mapping that captures the interdependencies over time. So what are the other challenges we face? Well, I think there are 4 of them really. The first one is we have to be able to understand what differentiates failure and success. And it can't be something that we say, in hindsight, that was a success. Because what we want to be able to do is fail fast, learn from it, experiment, and move forward. The other problem that we see is that often we don't really recognize what the important milestones we have to achieve are along the way to achieving what we see as the end goal. So the lack of milestones and visible milestones across the ecosystem becomes a challenge. The third one, here's one that I think is really critical, and we see this more and more particularly in the high-tech world, but success is really based upon collaboration and resources that are distributed across the network, across the ecosystem. And so the successful companies and the successful solutions are the ones that can leverage across that ecosystem. And that includes financial, that includes physical capital, that includes mind share, that includes customer share. So it's become much more complex. And here's the last one, and this one wouldn't seem like a problem, but sometimes we get so enamored of the end goal. And when you take that with the first one, the idea of success and failure, we become so enamored of the end goal that we fail to make those critical pivots along the way that might be necessary to achieve ultimate success. So with these 4 things in mind, what does that really mean from a strategy to tactics kind of execution?